Hello everybody, another culinary mindfulness practice here. And this is something I have incorporated in my life already uh, for 10 years, more or less, and is having an altar in my house. This is a practice that is not connected with any religious practice, and but it is a place that we set up in our home for different reasons, as reminding as a reminder that we are a spirit, that we have a soul, that there is something greater than me. um, Also as a reminder of my intentions and the things that I want to manifest in my life. And the way I did at the beginning, when I started creating altars, was to set up a place in my home or where I was living, a corner, and place some elements there. I will share with you those elements that I locate in the altar, which I still do, and the meaning of those elements. But I have had a shift in the way I use an altar and how often I use the altar in my life. So I realized that having a place in my house, it was a special corner that invite me to meditate, but usually I visited only once a day. And when I started cooking in a different way, cooking in a mindful way, and connecting with my spirit when I am in the kitchen, I thought myself, I have to bring the altar in the kitchen. I spend more time in the kitchen than in the rest of the home. And even if I enter the kitchen for a glass of water, I have the altar there and I see it and I remind myself of my intentions and the sacredness that I possess. So this has really shifted the way in how I connect with my spirituality, because I see it more tangible, like cooking, that we are doing with our hands something that is actually edible, like food. And also it created a space that I often visit, not only when I want to meditate or when I feel that I want to connect with my spirit. Let's say that before it was me visiting this place to remind that I am a spirit and connect with my spirit. Now the altar is in the kitchen, always there, as a sign that I am a spirit, and also is my connection with the spirit is closer to me in a during the day. And so I have that contact more often. One of the elements, so there are different ways of creating altars, and again, as I mentioned before, there must be altars depending on the beliefs of each person, where you can build your altar around the belief system that you have, or your placing images, if you like images of the gods or the figures in your life that really connect you with the spirit. But in the cases where not, then you can bring their elements of nature, for example, if it's nature the one thing that helps you to connect with your spirit. So there are no rules, there are no ways of building a perfect altar. We all build up our altar according to what really helps us to connect with ourselves. It can be also, why not, to have like the knives in a special case to place the knives, and we consider that the altar without anything else. But in my case, I like to have and build up something dedicated to the spirit. And Um, there are two elements, let's say, that I normally use in the altar. The first one are the 5 or 4 elements of nature. So depending on the healing system, Ayurveda or traditional Chinese medicine, there are different ways of seeing the elements. So I always bring the elements of nature here in the altar to be sure that I'm connected with nature. And then I bring image, because I have been exposed to Buddhism for a long time now. I bring the image of Buddha just as a representation of a quality, of the quality of stillness, and this is what the Buddha means for me. So I bring that, but I can leave it out if that is not something that helped me to connect. But also, I add something else there, and is any kind of supplement or medicine that I have to take if I am having a particular condition. So at the moment, for example, I have like 2 times a year to top up myself with iron, because I suffer from low levels of iron during the year. So I top it up with some supplement. So I leave my iron capsules there, and it's very useful because I see them in the kitchen counter is to remind that I have to take them, but also I give them an important place, so they are very well cared in this sacred space, and they take all the energy of that space. The other element that I use in altars are a piece of cloth of a color, and that I follow my intuition to see which colors means different things for me. But in general, let's say that at the period I was very sick a couple of years ago, I used the green color, and I look for a textile in green color as the magnet for my health and the recovery of my health. But we can use different other colors. Red for me, for example, means power and action and activity to something that I want to manifest. At the moment, I have orange that for me ignites creativity, but also is deeply connected with the darkness and those situations that are unknown for me, which is something that some of us face during the menopausal years. A little bit of moment of darkness and unknowing. So I want to recognize that and remember myself that I'm crossing to that period with the orange color. But there are others, like purple, for example. It can be used when we want really more to connect at a spiritual level and be in this space of connecting with our higher self. Or yellow also can be a color that I may use to feel grounded and to be more empowered and firm in face of situations. So depending on what we are going through in life, we can choose a color that tells us something, and then we find a textile to represent that, so it reminds us. And I forgot that I had a third element, and that third element is writing down my intention or the thing I want to manifest, or even if it's navigating the unknown or the darkness with wisdom and with patience, which is something I am practicing at the moment. Because when the things are known and when we know the path, we walk easily towards there, and we tend to rush the things because we know where we are going, so we try to accelerate ourselves. But when we are in this phase, especially in the premenopausal years, when the things started being a little bit blurred, there are no clarity of what is happening, and we experience so many changes in the body, in the mind, and in the spirit. then we need a lot of trust in ourselves. And this is the thing that at the moment I'm working. But if we are working in other different area in our life, I just write down whatever I am working on or I deeply desire and want and need in my life, not more like wanting, but what I need. And then under the textile, I leave that paper there. Why under the textile? Just because that thing I want to manifest, I don't want to share it with everybody. So there are visitors at home, or there are or it's even my partner around, so I want just to keep the things there in the darkness, like preparing under the ground to manifest at some point, like a seed. So now, one last thing before I show you the altar that I have. So another chip I have done in the last years is that I started with big altars. So I had like 50 centimeters round table and I decorate that. There was a point where I live in a flat that has a very special corner, but it was a big one. So that was a big altar. Nowadays, as I want the altar to be in my kitchen, and I don't want to use all the space in my kitchen, so I keep just a small altar, and it has the same strength as the big one. So no sizes, no rules to what to put on them. Maybe just place there whatever it calls you to connect with your higher self. Or maybe set up, like I said, the knife shelf as your place of connection. So now to share, okay, something happened here that I cannot switch. Okay, I will stop here and then find out what happened with the camera, which I cannot switch the camera to show you the altar. Or maybe I can do something like this. So here I have water as remind of the water element. I am water. The nature has water. So I'm connected with nature and the world through water. And what I do is to change every morning. The first thing I do when I enter the kitchen is changing this water. Then the other element I have here is earth, which is represented by stone, but easily it can be represented by a piece of vegetable that you put every day there, because earth is food. Then here I have some incense, and this represents for me the fire, but again it can be a candle, it can be whatever other thing. And I have the image of Buddha, which represents for me air. This is stillness of the mind. This is what it represents for me, so that I keep that. And here are the pills for iron. I keep them in this space. And then the textile that I choose with the color that it really reminds me my intentions or what I am working on physically, emotionally, psychologically, and spiritually. I will end the video with the photo of where I place in my kitchen this altar. But for now, I'm closing this video. Thank you for listening. And if you have any questions about the altar, I will be happy to help you to set up one in the kitchen. Thank you. Bye-bye.